Another day in paradise, so here we are. Got this Cheetah in for recommissioning outside work. Cheetah, they were made by Bob Goldner. Actually, we've got one in the museum, so it's quite interesting. That's the receipt from Cheetah Engineering for the one that we've got in the museum, which is totally restored. That's the kit, and it was 149 quid to buy the frame and all the kit. In those days, lots of manufacturers put out kits so you could update your Villiers with a new kit. So it's quite interesting. The frame number in this one here, if you have a look here, is 1547, and the invoice from Cheetah Motorcycles for R1 is 1534. So the difference is 13, so almost on the same production line. My friend Mick Whitlock, he was a fantastic frame builder over at Waterlooville, and he used to make all these frames for Bob Goldner. That's a nice little tank we just dropped off it there, but we'll have a look at the frame. 531, beautiful welding. That's Mick Whitlock's welding there, fantastic. Very deep gussets. That's because they used to break the frames across here quite often in competition, so he extended the gussets right down low. Villiers 37A motor. We're just doing a few jobs on it. We've got the head off, primary case off to sort out a few problems, and British hubs, which are big monstrous hubs, not very good for the opposition to have because they give me an advantage. Date of these were sort of 1967, which was not a good time because Miller had just done the Ballyclare Sherpa, which made all these bikes very uncompetitive, so that's why they really struggled. Bob Goldner, he was a great friend and great enthusiasm. After he stopped his motorcycle business, or closed his motorcycle business and stopped the Cheetah, funny enough, the aerial, he started collecting international 6-day aerials. So believe it or not, that was from Bob Goldner's collection, and as you know, we've got this in the museum now. We have managed to locate its sister, 441. That's at Doug Hill, Bewley Motor Museum. 441 was Gordon Blakeway, 440 Ron Langston, 439. So we're going to have everybody together when the weather picks up in the summer. We're on the case to try and find my bike. Then we'll have Gordon Blakeway down, Ron Langston, yours truly, and I managed to find a couple of photographs in the album the other night. There's yours truly in the International 6-Day on that bike. That's Dave Eakins, yours truly. That's some Russian guy on a Jawa, I don't know who he is, but that's Dave Eakins, and you know the story, McQueen, Bud Eakins, John Penton, all the Americans came for the international stay in Garmisch, and luckily, as you see, Dave Eakins started with Miller, so the American team said, all you've got to do is sit behind Miller for 6 days and you'll have a gold medal. The crowds loved it because it was Miller in a shadow for 6 days. Miller got a gold medal, his shadow got a gold medal, and he was the only American of the American team that got a gold medal. All he had to do was sit behind Miller, so easy peasy. So that's the implications between the Cheetah, Bob Goldner, the aerial. So we'll move on. What's happening here? Still waiting on key plating for the nickel plating for that's all gone off. We have got the primary case refurbished, so as you remember, that drops on here. That's how it drops on there, you see. That'd be a very, very difficult thing to manufacture. Very long sand castings. So we're super fortunate having that, because if that was missing, that would be a serious problem with the restoration. So the paintwork's come up quite good. I've had the mag off, had the mag apart, got a great spark, had the head off, checked everything out, so coming on quite well, and we'll fire that up for you again when we get all the bits and pieces. Moving on, this is the cotton. So I had a bit of a problem with the cotton, which I should have checked when I was building the engine, but I didn't. So if you look down into here, I'll just crank it up the top dead center. If you look down there, it's difficult to see, but there's a big, very, very low compression. I was worried that it had been supplied with the wrong piston, so I decided that it's best to check the compression ratio. So how do you do that? Well, luckily I thought about it, so I put a bit of grease around the top of the piston before I popped the head on. So what we're going to do now, we're going to measure the capacity of the combustion chamber, and then we'll do a few calculations to work out the compression ratio. So what I'll do, I've got a burette here, burette tube, which is all marked out in cc's right down here. So what we'll do, we'll fill that up, and I'll fill up the combustion chamber. Then we'll get the capacity of the combustion chamber. We know the the capacity of the cylinder, which is 248 cc. So we'll work that out. So I'll just fill this up. Filled up the burette with fluid, and as you see, we'll put a mark on there where it is there. So if you watch the top of there, and I'm going to pour it into the cylinder head. We're coming up full. Right, this is what we've used up. So there's 10 cc, 20 cc's, 30 cc's, 40 cc's, 46 cc's, 45. So we'll do some calculations now. So the formula for compression ratios, you got the cc of the bike, 248 cc, and then you add to that the combustion chamber, which we calculated was 45 cc. Right, so you add those two together, equals 293, and then you've got to divide that by the compression space, which is 45 degrees. So we divide 245 by 45, and there you go, equals 6.5 to 1. So that means it's sort of relatively low compression, but good enough to work. Racing engines go up to sort of 14 to 1. Generally, road engines are about 9 to 1, depending on the fuel. The old days, it used to be, when you had 80 octane fuel, it used to be down to 7 to 1, which was like glorified paraffin. So that's how you work it out. So there you go, 1933 cotton, compression ratio 6.5 to 1, done. Right, so the cotton is waiting for the wheels. Bit of a delay on those with the central wheel, but hoping maybe this week. So then we'll move on to the latest acquisition, the Zender. 1926-27. How do we know it's that year? Well, they happened to change from belt drive to chain drive in 26, which is a blessing, because Miller doesn't like belt drive. They're ancient, although modern bikes have got belt drives, but this is chain drive, and very encouraging. If you look at all the sprockets, they haven't done a lot of mileage. So that means that the engine, for some reason, hasn't been abused. You remember this was from the Joe Ryan collection, Ballyclare, Northern Ireland, the Ulster Tourist Trophy Race, 1946 on the Ballyclare circuit. Miller, first race he ever seen. My sister married a farmer whose farm was on the side of the circuit, so Miller was up about 4 o'clock in the morning, first morning of practice, and we were standing on the side of the road those days. Health and safety didn't exist, so I can still see Prince Spira coming up from Ballyclare on the ERA. It was Romulus, he had the two cars, Romulus and Remus, and he was using Romulus, and he came up out of Ballyclare. You could hear him miles away. Arrive, Mark 8 goggles, he had a blue, always wear a blue suit, blue cloth helmet, sort of saw on the steering wheel as if he can come sideways out of the top of the Ballyclare, up at the top of the climb out of Ballyclare, and still as clear as crystal. He went on to win the race. Reg Parnell, Maserati was second. Abacassi, he was third. Allard, I think, was fourth. Raymond May was fifth. Great race. And if you're ever near Ballyclare, at Ballyrobert Corner, there's a memorial to the race, a full-size car, racing car there, so check it out. So then we move on to Zender. So we're still trying to find out why the Zender from Switzerland got the Ballyclare, but that we're ongoing. I'm going to drop the engine out, so we'll have a look at the engine. Let's see, we'll get the tank off first, so we need to get that unhooked there, and then there's little bolts through there, so we need to get those out of the way. Right, that should come off now. We've done the fuel. So there's the little Zender tank. It's the original. So we'll get my man Terry Hall on the case just to get those little dents out, because that's absolutely outstanding condition. Oh, some loose ends. Baffles broke through in the inside. That's serious, because it means you've got to cut it open to get the baffle out. But Terry's a top man, so he'll do that. So we'll just leave that there for the moment. Have a look at the engine. So we're going to have this out here. It's really one lump, so that should, there's the little slide. No needle, which is a bit antiquated. There's a lot of wear there, so I should think that to get any sort of decent carburation, that'll need to be remade. We'll drop the valve lifter off it here, the cable for the valve lifter, which is this one here. Hope you remember where all this goes back together again. So that comes out of there, so that's those cables unhooked. I've got the front and rear bolt off, so the mount, so it's theoretically this should come out. There we go, got a bit tied up with a clutch cable. So there's the little unit out. It's all remarkably good condition, although there's a bit of damage there where you see somebody's broke the base off that barrel. That can be welded up. We'll stick it on the bench, we'll drop the barrel off, let you have a look inside. You're probably the first person in about 70, 80 years to see the inside of this, so you're all quite fortunate. So there we go, that's a left-hand thread on that. They often did that because when the when the engine's running, it tightens the nut up, whereas it's normal thread, it would loosen it. So that's left-hand thread, right? So theoretically that should come off here. There you go, it's 4 nice little pins there, look. That's quite unique. So interesting, that is. Never seen that before. So we'll drop these off here. See what's in here. There's a nut in the back of that. It's a quarter. Seems strange that some of the nuts are metric and some are English, so obviously it's had a bit of, I don't think Joe Rand's had it apart because it's quite a long time since it's been apart. So we'll see what all this is like inside. So there we go, and drop that off. Very nice. These nice little gears, isn't that lovely? Lovely gears, look, very fine. Bit of backlash there, which is not good. That'll have to be addressed. There's probably a bit of movement on the magneto, so when we're putting it together, then we better see if there's any timing marks on it. See if we can pick up any timing marks. If not, that can't see any, which is a bit perturbing. Right, that's a nice little thing there. You can see that nice and neat there. So, right, we'll drop this off here. Always nice to see inside the barrel, see what's happening. Let's hope there's no carnage. We don't want to be trying to find a piston for a 1926 Zender. I don't think Halfords will have much in stock somehow. Nice the way the fins are finned that way, a bit like Motor Guzzi. They used to fin them that way. That's nice finning around there. Do you see how that's all nicely finned? Break the air. Good bit of design. Quite a long register and the barrel into the crankcases. You see how that's quite deep in there. So that's come out quite nicely. So there you go. Quite a long sleeve. It's almost like the barn Stroud engine, that. So these are all your transfer ports here. Looks relatively good condition. I'm pleased about that. Look, hasn't done a lot of work, that engine. So see if we can get it up a bit. Oh, that's top dead center there. So deflector piston. You all know what a deflector piston is. So when the fuel comes in, it hits that there and it goes up to the top of the combustion chamber. So that it gets a thermal or a direction by the deflector to get it up to the combustion chamber. 2 compression rings, big end. Keep your fingers crossed, that feels not too bad. We're trying to get the gudgeon pin out, but as you see it's in line with those studs, so we'll better drop the studs out and then we can tap the gudgeon pin. Bit disappointed in those. The very fine thread to be in aluminium. Not good. You'd be better with a much coarser thread so you have less chance of wrecking the aluminium. Oh, sugar. Right, so we're going to tap that through. There you go, that's the gudgeon pin out. So there's your piston. We better put a little mark on that, although we know where it's going, but it doesn't do any harm to put so that's the top, right? Mark that, so that drops in there. So now well, that's a weird little small end there. I've never seen one like that before. I don't know what the implications of that are. And there's little cutaways there for some reason, so the piston can't understand that. So there we go. Big end's not too bad. That's the little pads on the end of the gudgeon pin. Some of the early engines, they didn't use circlips, they used little pads to stop that wearing on the barrel. So we'll see what that looks like. So that's sort of, maybe there's a bit too much float in this con rod. I think we'll have to address that big end. But Small end's okay. No bush, straight into the conrod, so that would be a bit serious to replace that. Luckily that's in good shape. So there we go. Lovely little unit. You see how that all one casting there, and on that side there, see it's all one casting. So you got the mag mounted on there. You got the big end in here. We can drop that out and see. I'll let you see inside there because that would be interesting to see the big end. We'll just drop that off there. We'll have to replace that pipe. It's had a bit of a hard life. See the nice number on the carburetor there, Zenith, Lyon, on the part number 25693. That's all good stuff. Right, see if this is metric or imperial. It's metric. So we drop over there. Shouldn't take us too long to get into here. A nice little touch there. Do you see how those are rubber bushed engine mounts? Cut down the vibration. Nice touch for 1926, eh? Right, so that should theoretically come off there. There you go. Not too tight. That's a nice name there, Zender. Paris, won the Paris Nice race. Christ, that's about 600 miles, isn't it? That really makes a bike, you know, having something like that, you know. Really good. We've also got another nice little name. If you have a look at the brake pedal there, and so that looks like a Z and a Z. The same emblem on here, so that must be the works emblem. So interesting stuff, interesting stuff. So somebody's put a bit of tape around here to keep the sparks cover on. Have that off there. Looks a bit bloody serious round there, don't it? Don't know what that's supposed to be doing. Right, there you go. You've seen the inside of the Zender. Big end. That all goes round nicely and neat like that, you see. Nice roller bearings. So I'll get all that taken apart. I'll enjoy doing that. And check everything out. Let's hope we don't have to put a new big end in it, because if we do, that'll be a very expensive job. That's a gasket set, so I'll keep that for reference. And there you go, another day in paradise. So we'll keep you up to speed what's happening. Next visit will be into the Zender, we'll be into the Cotton, we'll be into the new Hudson. I'll just fire up the PSA to see if it still works, because I've been out for a bit of practice this afternoon, and if it doesn't stop sheeting down the rain,